like these cold opens, actually. Welcome back to... Ahí está la música, sí. Well, we'll do this again. Take 2. Welcome back to another episode of Searching for McGuffin with your horse. Ya comenzó la cosa. Ya comenzó la cosa. Gabriel, Gabe,
Link.
And today we have a very special guest. His name is Josue. Let me see if I can pronounce this right. Gelabert Roncal, otherwise known as Josue Loyola Roncal. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, Josue Galadriel. Josue Galadriel Roncal.
Yes, a little less angelic, but yes, almost.
All right, so Josue, how do I begin this?
Josue's a friend of ours.
Josue is a friend of ours.
Yeah.
He's a friend of the show.
Yeah.
Long-time listener.
I met Josue 8th grade.
We go back. 8th grade? Is that
Yeah.
what it was?
Yeah,
You're
I was
8th
in.
grade.
Yeah, it was the first day of school for 8th grade. I was in 8th grade,
Uh-huh.
right? And Josue had just recently arrived from Spain, right?
Yeah, bro. Fresh
España.
off the boat.
Fresh off the boat from Spain. You get me? Ready to
Ready to conquer.
conquer. Yeah, colonize the people of Miami.
Colonize, bro.
So he's first day of school. We see him there. My class starts to talk to him. I talk to him. We find out he only knows Spanish, right? And he's from Spain. You get me? It's the first time I've ever met anyone from Spain. So he has that beautiful accent. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
The Barcelona, Corazon Barcelona type of thing. And
Barcelona.
Barcelona. And it's awesome because he's like a new kid, right? So we'll be friendly. We take him to class. We show him where he's supposed to go. He's with us for 3 periods. Then we have lunch. And then after lunch, we have like electives. And he's not. We have one more class, and he's no longer with us. And then
Like, did he die?
that's what we thought. Like, bro, where's our new kid? Where's the new? He was so lovable. He was so charismatic. He only spoke Spanish. We were like teaching him already curse words in English. Where'd he go? Turns out that we had kidnapped him from 7th grade. We were 8th graders, and we thought he was in our class, and we just dragged him to all of our classes. Turns out he was just a 7th grader.
Wait, that's true. I forgot. You guys aren't even in the same
It's
class?
The classic story. The colonizer gets
Colonized.
lost in new land, you know?
There you go. It was a humbling story, and that was his introduction to Miami culture.
I know. Yeah, that was. I mean, that was a great class. I was looking at all the prospects already in that class. Man, that was a good-looking class. I was so bummed out when I had to go to the class under. I'm like, yeah, these people are less developed, for sure. But no, it was fun times being in for sure
Yeah.
in Miami.
No, I bet. So,
When was the first time you met me, Gabe?
I think I was playing soccer.
It wasn't that same day?
Probably not.
No.
No, I heard about the Spaniard. I heard about the Spaniard that was at
The
school.
first day at school, yeah.
We went to the same church too.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
it probably was
Went to
there. I
Kendall.
think, yeah, you were all suited
I went
up.
to church.
You were all suited up, you know.
Yeah, my mom would make me play violin at church, so probably from that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good way
Yeah,
to good way to get into.
That's how my mom knows him. Josue, el que toca el violín.
Yeah, the boy was a prodigy.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna list off some of his achievements. You know, to give him,
credibility.
you know, his credentials.
This is royalty. Not only is he a what's the word? Conqueror. What's that? Colonizer. But he's
Colonizer
royalty.
is excuse me, colonizer is the one with the bad rep. You know, you gotta say just call it conqueror, bro.
He's a conqueror. He's Josue the Conqueror. What are his credentials?
All right, so he attended New World School of the Arts in Miami, Florida.
Yeah.
That's right, fighting pigeons.
Wait, is that their mascot? The fighting
That's
pigeons?
our mascot, bro.
That's our mascot.
That's a very
We have zero
ferocious.
sports.
And you want to talk about? There's a specific little rivalry. Surprisingly, I didn't know about this. Your school had a rivalry with another particular school.
Yeah. The only other school that matches up to us is LaGuardia, New York. Obviously, we're better, you know.
Of course.
But yeah, you know, people like Timothy Chalamet and J-Lo went to that school up there. But
So can you say that?
We shine brighter.
Can you say that Timothy Chalamet is your arch nemesis and you're his?
He doesn't know it yet, but yes.
He doesn't
know it yet. Mm.
Okay, so he is Timothy Chalamet's rival. He was also the concertmaster of the symphony orchestra at Southern Adventist University. He is now a freelancer for the Chattanooga Symphony Orchestra, which, you know, he come and goes as he pleases. He can just, you know, take a seat. He can take a spot whenever he wants because that's just who he is.
He's a Han Solo.
He is that good. And he is now, as he would put it, a consumer of high art.
What does that mean?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
You know, when you've like lived your whole life just learning music and paying attention to all the details, and like my student job at Southern was worked at a radio station. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Of course, I would request music all the time.
I was a host, and
yeah, you were doing this years ago.
Yeah, you'll be surprised, but like my voice still goes on the air in Chattanooga.
Really?
So every now and then, Josue Loyola Roncal goes on air in Chattanooga, and there's people that I still meet like organically, like in the city, like doing sports or doing something else. And then they're like, you know, ask me my name, and there's not a lot of Josue's around. But then when I say, "Oh, my name is Josue," and they're like, look at me sometimes, and they're like, "Wait, Josue what?" And then Josue Loyola Roncal, or like, "I know you." I'm like, "Do you like classical music?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Probably from 90.5, bro." That was me.
Can you give us your radio voice?
Yeah, like do like an intro or like when you'd start.
90.5 WSMC, Collegedale, Tennessee. My name is Josue Loyola Roncal. We are here with Mr. Link Rusi and Gabriel Larrazabal. Just recording music. Yeah, that's my kind of my radio voice. But yeah, those were great.
We
times.
should get one of those.
When you live around and grow up around music and paying attention, you eventually like develop a certain taste and develop a certain like, I guess, a spirit to critique, you know, art in general.
Yeah.
Especially music. And I love movies. I think movies are probably the ultimate art form of our era because it involves all of the art forms, which is a very Wagnerian like way of saying that. Because Richard Wagner was this composer essentially in the 19th century into the 20th century that he thought that opera was like the one art form. Like he was a composer, but like at one point he only wanted to compose for opera because he thought that opera was the highest art form because it involved all of the arts put together into one production. That essentially, I agree with that. I think that movies now are like the ultimate art form because, you know, they involve soundtrack, they involve acting, they involve like visual effects and all of these things. And I just love it. And I love critiquing, and I love consuming it, and I love searching for quality.
McGuffin.
And that's what I'm obsessed with right now.
Yeah, quality. Yeah.
Yeah, quality.
Mm-hmm.
Quality.
And the McGuffin.
And the McGuffins.
Entonces, well, you mentioned a bit about music, and obviously you have a vast musical background and history. That's kind of going to be the subject of our topic of conversation today. Is music in film. I know that you talked about the kind of like, you know, why you love it and why you think it is such a high art form. So we should start like talking about one of the films that we saw. Well, yeah,
we recently saw.
And
then we talked to you about it, and you had also recently seen it, and we were both, all three of us were like mesmerized by it. Yeah,
we were definitely blown away by this film. And
it's actually like the last film that I've seen in theaters right now.
So yeah, you saw it very recently, so it's more fresh in your mind. And I think we had in the conversation leading up to like obviously us doing this episode, that was kind of like the focal point. Like that was kind of what was driving us to really do this episode. We've been wanting to do an episode with Josue for a very long time because he's such a fun person to talk to.
I love talking to Josue, yeah.
He's so knowledgeable on a vast majority of like a variety of different topics that it's just like, bro, this guy is a sponge.
And a great sense of humor.
And he's hilarious.
Yeah,
and then
that was my goal. From the moment I touched down in Miami, I'm like, I'm going to be a cool nerd.
So I can be friends with these two.
Proceeds to be a
get back to this class.
A lord at violin and playing soccer, scoring goals, and it was like, español.
He's like this 8th grader and that 5th grader. They're going to host a podcast
it's funny
in the future.
Because I sucked at soccer in Spain. Growing up in Spain, I was, era malo. So
el mejor aquí en Miami.
I was the goalie, and then I got to Miami. They're like, oh, this guy can score. Let's put him as forward. And I became from goalie to forward, bro.
Started from the bottom, now you're here.
Exactly, bro. That's like, It's like I was essentially, Messi in his last years coming to Miami.
He's at Inter Miami.
I think that was good.
Oh, it's a good one. So yeah, not to hold anyone else in suspense, the film was Godzilla -1.
Godzilla minus
Godzilla.
one.
Gojira. Okay.
Godzilla
And
-1.
so Josue, what was just the major thing that stood out to you about this film that you were just like so and enamored by it?
Well, dude, like the John, like it just completely, obviously, like listeners and those that haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil anything a lot. I want to motivate people to like go watch it.
Yes, go watch this movie.
But like the movie, it redefines the genre of the action blockbuster, in my opinion. Because like, first of all, they need to know that it's not a Hollywood film. It's completely a Japanese production.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I was very impressed with
100%
that.
Japanese
International.
actors and Japanese. It's an international film. And it's a kaiju film, of course. Like, what is greater than watching a kaiju film finally made by a Japanese production kaiju film, right? Like, amazing. Let's go watch it. I go watch it thinking that it's just a Godzilla movie. It's just gonna be a monster destroying, like, just action film. And then you get in the movie theater and then you realize, oh no, this is a movie with a script. This is a movie with like
Intention.
This is a
It's
great
heart. Yeah, there's
actual-
heart. There's character
There's-
development. Not just with
amazing
Godzilla,
characters, the
yeah.
story, like, and one of the really cool things I personally love, like, I've been watching a lot of history around like World War II and like what was happening, and just to understand, studying the past to understand the present a little bit. And I think what the movie captures, that something that is really important for Americans, is to see the Japanese, like the way that the society felt after World War II, and all of the, like, they had lost a major war, and like those people had to go back home and rebuild lives. And like the movie, like the story of the movie is about the characters. Yeah, like Godzilla's in the background, and you're gonna get the buildings coming down and the like all the destruction. But at the same time, you're watching this film about this character, this ex-soldier, ex-kamikaze that obviously survived. And if you're a kamikaze, why'd you survive, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's an oxymoron.
It's kind of
right
like
there.
your whole purpose for I guess living, or what you're supposed to do, is kind of like just void.
Yeah,
And people look at you basically with shame.
yeah.
But the scars, like the movie portrays the scars of war so well. Like, I feel like at the same time that it's a kaiju action film, it is also a post-World War Japan film.
No,
Yeah.
for
Because
sure.
It's like-
it's a love story around that.
Yeah, it's like it's a war film disguised as a kaiju movie.
Yeah, no, like often when I was watching it, it often felt times that it's like, is Godzilla even like real?
Yeah.
Like is
Right,
Godzilla just a physical manifestation of the war that's being imposed upon, the Japanese
Correct.
people?
Mhm.
And yeah, and one of the things that really spoke out to me when watching the film was because in Japan it's honorable, to kind of go out on your shield, take your life, you carry that honor with you.
Death is an honorable death.
Yeah, an honorable death. And I feel like the life of this film, and obviously not to go too deep into it, I think a lot of it has to do with the wanting to live.
Yeah.
And
It's like the opposite mentality of,
exactly
of
and
honorable death.
and it's so like
Mhm.
it's so sad throughout the film, where it's like the people that are in power, the people that are in a position of like to make a difference, and the people in a position of power are just like, we don't care, like we're gonna go out on our shield, we don't care about the people around us, like that's it, like they're like, we're responsible for them, but at the same time it's like they would be lucky enough to die an honorable death.
Yeah.
And it's like not taking like necessary precautions or being responsible as government officials to protect your citizens. They're just like, it's gonna happen, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And
I think the movie plays really well. The script just plays really well with like, who's the real enemy here? Like, is Godzilla the real enemy, or are the characters their own worst enemy? Because they're going through so much struggle, such a like internal struggle.
Yeah.
Of like the scars of war and rebuilding with like whole families gone. Whole families like just the war, the bombing of Tokyo, and like, and then I think a lot. The visualization of when obviously you see Godzilla shooting out the radioactive thing, whatever they Godzilla does. I think that was so visual because it kind of reminds you of like the fact that, oh wait, the U.S. actually dropped 2 atomic bombs
Yeah.
on Japan, and now they have this kaiju like shooting out like radioactive stuff, destroying it. And I think in Japan they probably watched that movie, and like it feels very patriotic at the same time, because if you think about it, like they all get together and they all like kind of like destroy, like go tackle this
No,
this
yeah,
new enemy.
that was one thing I noticed in the film was just like obviously like they still keep the droppings of the, because it was very quick. I didn't catch it at first, and then I thought about it afterwards. But it's like they dropped the bombs, and Godzilla got hit by it, but he gets affected, but he comes back like kind of stronger. Like he was kind of like como
Not the atomic bombs, but like.
no yeah.
Oh yeah.
The like he was like it was like baby Godzilla, and then they dropped the bombs because they had like the dates around there, and that was around the time that it happened, and that makes him strong. That makes him grow bigger, and that's when he starts shooting the lasers out of his mouth, because it like because how he has like
he has a recharge, like
he get healing factor. He gets like a healing factor.
Yeah.
And like that like destroyed him, but it didn't kill him, and he came back like even stronger, and that's when he came out with the laser. So it's like in a way the bombs made him stronger in a sense. It made it worse on the Japanese people that live there.
Yeah,
doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
I mean, you also get that for the action movie lover. You get that part. Also, like the movie's so good at building fear. Did you like I usually go watch an action film like where there is Kong movies or the new Godzilla movies. I'm usually not scared.
Yeah.
But this movie was so good at building the suspense, the fear, and capturing in like the faces of the characters.
No, yeah, for sure. I think like especially with the modern Godzilla movies, I think that chaos is obviously going to ensue, but you don't necessarily that the main characters aren't going to die, like, but you don't really care. Like you're not as invested, and like that like a lot of people are going to die. There's going to be a lot of destruction because that's what that movie is about. In this film, it painted a picture in which you're invested. You're invested in the people that you hardly even know, because it has little moments of humor and just like little human moments that make you actually like identify and connect with these people, that to the point that like there's some points in the movie where you're holding your breath because you don't know who's gonna die and who isn't.
Yeah.
And that for a film,
I think in a way, most of our action movies, the action movies that Hollywood makes, they kind of like they're kind of escapism, right? We go to watch them to forget that we're humans, to forget that we're like kind of trapped in this like humanity, right? So you watch it and you don't really care about the characters, you don't really care about the destruction. I feel like this Godzilla movie reminded me of what it means to be human, because it like you become so invested in the humanity of the characters, and like their dreams, their aspirations, their fears, their scars from war, that like and it's crazy because it's such a different culture than the Western culture, the Japanese culture, and you can still get so invested in the movie, and you don't even speak the language, you're reading subtitles, right? But I thought the movie was great. The movie is genius. I mean, the reviews kind of like represent it,
Yeah.
It's like one of the few movies that I've seen where it's 98% from critics and 98% from audience. So like
everybody loving this movie.
Yeah, no.
Everyone is loving this movie. I don't think it's getting the attention that it should, honestly.
Yeah.
Hopefully during award season,
hopefully this podcast changes it.
Yeah.
Like hopefully people hear this.
Hopefully people go watch Godzilla -1 because of this podcast. And the soundtrack is such a classic soundtrack.
It's beautiful. It's a classic, and they I feel like they modernized it, but they're playing with classic Godzilla themes, but they modernize it.
It's a very classic, like full symphony orchestra movie score, and you don't get that a lot.
You don't get that,
in movies. No, like if you think about another movie that is also Japanese that we can talk about, The Boy and the Heron. Our boy Miyazaki did it again, and Joe Hisaishi,
the GOAT.
Joe Hisaishi, he also like did a score that was completely classical. Nothing, like we're so used to synthesizers, we're so used to like a lot of electronic sound in our soundtracks lately. But both of these Japanese films have very classic soundtracks that just create really amazing movies. Like
Yeah.
just, I mean, I don't know. Did you guys watch The Boy and the Heron?
I
Yes,
haven't seen it, but
I
he
did.
did.
Yes, I
Oh
did.
my gosh.
I loved it
Yeah.
so good. You got a Miyazaki movie, and it's beautiful because not only do you get Miyazaki, but you get Joe Hisashi as well. So
Hisaishi.
Hisaishi. So it's beautiful to see them reunited once again. Maybe for the last time, we don't know.
Yeah.
So all right, the guy's
Bro,
80.
that guy has like retired like 20 times, bro.
No, yeah, the guy's
You know,
Yeah,
he's coming back.
he's Brett
He's gonna
Favre,
come
bro.
back.
no, he can, but they're old. You get me? They're old. They're getting up there, and you never know, right? So the fact that we got to see one of those in our lifetime, another one, what a time to be alive, right? We could have been alive at any moment,
But you chose to be alive.
but you chose to be. Your parents chose for you to be alive.
Like, man. It was. I mean, it was a really good soundtrack. It was very classical. Like, you know, you have some of the melodies that you have in the other soundtracks that he made for House Moving Castle, which is a very like romantic and very waltz oriented
waltz.
soundtrack. Yeah, very waltzy.
He does a good job with getting, like, wherever the movie's set, he does a good job playing music from that. You get me? House Moving Castle's obviously
I
set in
think that's
Europe.
what I liked about this one.
Yeah,
this one is set in Japan.
In Japan, exactly. So you get a more Japan classical music style.
Yeah,
whatever that.
and it's
is.
also like kind of like a post World War Japan. That's what it felt like the setting was for that movie.
Exactly.
Because they're building planes, which
Yeah.
And I think all of these like things have something to do with Miyazaki's actual life. I think his dad was involved in plane making, right?
Yeah, his dad was a plane maker. Yeah, in the war. And that's why he loves plane. That's why before this, his other supposed to be last movie was The Wind Rises, which was him paying homage to, his airplanes.
Yeah, which that also was nominated for the Oscars back then. So like, I mean,
I'm assuming
The Boy
this
and the
one's,
Heron is going to be nominated.
I mean, this one's nominated
Honestly,
for Golden
I
Globe.
think it might take it. Yeah, honestly, I think it might take the animation film.
I mean, I was looking at that, and I think that I agree with you that it will take it because the other competitions for it will probably be Spider-Man, Suzumi, and
was that the chair one?
That's a chair one, yeah. I just feel what are those?
What Pixar movie came out?
That's what I'm trying to think.
Elemental,
yeah. I just feel like
which animated? So it was Elemental, Boy and the Heron, Spider-Man Across the Universe, Spider-Verse. Sorry.
Yeah.
Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be.
Wish.
I don't think Super Mario's movie would get nominated for it.
Wish got nominated.
And Wish maybe because it's Disney. I don't think Super Mario Brothers would get nominated for best animated film. But I do think that out of all of these for the Oscars, I think that if you take into account that this might be Miyazaki's last movie, and it's a movie that pays homage to a lot of his older stuff, it's kind of like. So I feel like this one he would win it. He would.
I just think like his movies are, from all of the animated ones, like all of them are very creative. Like Spider-Man, super creative, like the animation style and the production, like the design of the sound and even the soundtrack. Like you guys need to listen to that soundtrack by itself.
Yeah.
Just after watching the movie, you watch the soundtrack and you can actually see everything that you were watching in the film by listening to the soundtrack. Like so much of that film, and it's also nominated for a Golden Globe.
Isn't that like,
I do think that the reason why it doesn't win is because first of all, like Into the Spider-Verse already won it, and second of all, why it won't win it is because this was
it's not a complete
movie. You get me? It's like you end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that's the only competition that Miyazaki has. So because of that, I think that The Boy and the Heron will win. Best animated feature.
I mean, amazing film. For those that haven't seen it, go watch The Boy and the Heron.
But if you haven't,
it might be a rough introduction to Miyazaki.
Yeah. I was about to say if you've never seen a Miyazaki movie, I recommend watching maybe Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. Then go watch Boy and the Heron because it can be.
My personal favorite is Princess Mononoke.
Or that's a harder introduction for it too. But I feel like, watch some movies before because if you do watch this as an American or someone from the Western mentality, you won't understand this movie. It is a weird movie.
Very different style.
Different style, exactly. So check it out, my boy, Joe Hisashi. He's my favorite composer of all time, and I hope he wins it. This is the first time that he's actually nominated for a Western award. So I'm excited to see how he how he does.
Did you watch it dubbed or did you watch it with subtitles?
I watched it dubbed because First of all, two
Same.
Batmans are in the movie. You get me? So,
Wait, two Batmans?
yeah, bro. We got Robert Pattinson and Christian Bale.
Oh, okay. So Christian Bale does. I recognize his voice doing the dad.
Christian Bale does a dad. Robert Pattinson
And
is a
then
Heron.
what did Robert
Heron.
Pattinson do?
Robert Pattinson
He's the
is a
Heron?
Yeah, exactly. He's unrecognizable, right?
I
Yes.
thought the Heron was somebody else.
No, he is a Heron.
That is crazy. Like, yeah, you can't tell.
You
That's
can't
Robert
tell.
Pattinson.
You wouldn't be. Yeah.
I think Mark Hamill is also in the
He
voice
is.
actors.
Yeah, he's in it. He plays a grand uncle.
He is the ultimate
Yeah.
voice actor.
Voice actor.
He
He
is.
played Joker in the Arkham video games.
No, he is. He's one of the best of all times.
So Josue,
Yeah.
you mentioned this point that I think everyone goes through is like when you come out of the movie theater and you really enjoyed a film and you go straight to either Apple Music or Spotify and you go straight for that film
Yes.
score
Oh, that's what I did.
And
After
you-
Godzilla minus
and
one.
you listen to the tracks all the way home
Bro, Sweet 3, Sweet number 2, Godzilla.
You
Sweet
guys
number
do that
2.
too?
all the
I did
time,
that,
dude.
yeah.
Like
Oh, dude! Finally, I get to meet my
for
people,
the-
my kind of people.
No, I can only do it when it's very noticeable in a movie.
Mhm.
For example, like in this movie, Godzilla minus one, the soundtrack is extremely noticeable, right? Like, wow, it's so good. You were talking about the
Yeah.
suspense, how there's so much suspense. The music gives you suspense.
no, the music carries in the sense
Exactly.
like
It's my favorite part of the movie, the music.
it's emphasizing obviously what you're seeing on screen because obviously you can have films that like aren't the greatest like
Yeah.
films, but the music is carrying beyond, man.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
doing such a good
I
job,
mean-
and it's like it stays with you, resonates with you, and it stays with you, and you
The music creates that atmosphere, that tone of the movie. I mean, let's think about great movies that have come out in the last 10 years. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, right?
Nolan,
so you
yeah.
think about Interstellar, and you think about the organ in the
Yeah.
soundtrack.
like that for me that's like
Yeah.
one of my favorite
That's one of
films,
the
but I will say that's like
I think that's his best.
the music. That for me that might be one of his best scores, but like
I think that's his best score. Yeah.
because that makes
Yeah.
the film. I think the film is beautiful, and I think the story is great, and like it's right up my alley. Like I love science fiction, but I think that the music carries that and transcends like everything that I'd seen before. That I felt like I'm not a father, and I'm not like I'm not in a spaceship, I'm not an astronaut, and I'm not living like in scarcity, but there was something about the music of the film that made me connect, that made me feel the weight of that film, or feel what Cooper is going through in his life, or what Murph is going through in the film. And just, I don't know, it's a weight that's like on you that I feel like I watched that movie. I came out of the movie. I was like graduate. I think it was 2014. I think I just graduated.
Yeah, you took me to watch that movie.
Yeah, I just graduated high school, and I don't know if you remember, but my reaction like afterwards, I feel like my life had changed somehow.
Yeah.
Like I was a different
remember
person.
watching it 3 times in the movie theater. That's what I remember.
Yeah, same.
Because I think the first time I was just like, that movie was amazing, but let me go on Reddit and look up the timeline because I got a little lost there, right? That was my first time I watched it. Second time, I go in the movie theater to watch it, already like having studied that whole timeline on Reddit, and I'm like, okay, I understand it. And then the third time, I'm like, man, this movie is amazing. Like this movie, I get everything now.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that you mentioned like, what it is to be like the feeling of a father and the feeling of Murph and what she's going through and like what the dad is going through. Did you know that Hans Zimmer, when Christopher Nolan is making the film, he approaches Hans Zimmer usually when he wants him to score one of his movies.
Mhm.
And I remember watching an interview with Hans Zimmer, and they asked Hans Zimmer like, so what does Christopher Nolan? What does Christopher like give you? When he is approaching you to
Yeah.
like, what's his pitch? I mean, well, he's like, well, he doesn't have to pitch me. I'll do a movie for him anytime. But what he told me, I wanted to work on some of the themes for the movie, and he wouldn't give me what the movie was about. All he gave me was, this movie is about the love of a father for a daughter. And then from that little detail that Christopher Nolan gave Hans Zimmer started composing themes that would go into the movie and to like
Crazy.
going into the score.
That's
So
insane.
like it's such a small little theme and detail for a movie about space and what it means to like be human and what like the like time and space.
No, yeah, I think
And it's crazy. Like he doesn't have anything to. If that's all you have, and you get me, you don't even know it's about space. It's like, dang.
But I think the common thread there is that this movie's about space. This movie's supposed to be, grand. Space is, a vacuum. It's a void. It's huge. It's like, it's immense. Like it's not, it's innumerable. But I think I think he hit it on the nail when he's just like, it's about the love of a father for his daughter. And I think what I got from the film was love.
Mm-hmm.
Love as, a feeling, as an emotion, as something that drives people to survive, to see their loved ones, the people that they care about, the people they love about. And that feeling is like a feeling of space.
Yeah.
That grand feeling, that feeling of immensity, where that organ, and that put me onto organ pieces, man.
The king of the instruments, bro. The king of the instruments.
Exactly.
Like,
and
let's talk about the organ. The organ is
it's
incredible.
incredible.
It is called the king of the
and
just think about when it was like created.
Yeah.
It was where do you find organs? In churches, right?
Churches, yeah.
So at the time, in those times, the church was like hearing an organ. Just think about like all the technology that we have. You don't have any of that, right? We're talking about like Middle Ages into like Baroque era. Like people are poor, people are peasants. They come into church and they hear the king of the instruments. They hear these huge pipes just resonating through like really high ceilings in churches and cathedrals all over Europe, and like that just automatically hearing an organ made you believe in the existence of God.
It evokes something in you, something that's like,
because it was such a huge sound that you could never hear in any other. There were no cars back then. There were no like all of the things that make so much noise in our world now.
That's true, yeah.
You didn't have that back then. So hearing an organ was like the biggest representation in sound of God.
Of the
to the normal person, to like just walking there.
Yeah, like a very supernatural sound.
Yeah,
it's like a very supernatural sound, which I mean that goes hand in hand with obviously the theme of space, But it's so interesting to see how it's like you're talking about an instrument used in a church, and then it's like conveying the message of like obviously love, but talking about spaceships in outer space and going to different planets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's something that I find so fascinating about, music in film. And I think music in any other points, but I think like you said, like for me, film is one of the highest forms of art because it's like, it integrates so much of this in a single medium, It's
a lot of collaborative.
Yeah. It brings in a bunch of things. It's so like filmmaking. I feel like it's a simple like idea, but to carry that out really well,
a lot of work.
Yeah. And
it's a team sport.
No, definitely. And I think generally for me, I don't know about you, but it's like after watching Interstellar, that's when I started really paying attention to music and film. Yeah, to soundtracks. Mm-hmm. When I started going out of my way and looking like, okay, this movie. And then the great thing about that was I was able to go backwards and like look at all the films that I've enjoyed in the past. And through like, because you have such iconic themes. You have Star Wars, you have Jurassic Park, you have, I'm just naming a bunch of John Williams.
Yeah, you have John Williams.
Yeah.
You have John Williams to go back and listen to, and also like Hans Zimmer, like the Dark Knight trilogy, all the like the Nolan movies that he does. And I was able to go back, and I'm just like, man,
The Lion King.
Exactly, Lion King, or
Hans Zimmer goes back.
Prince of Egypt.
You like think about Prince of Egypt, like all these movies that we grew up around. That was Hans Zimmer, bro.
That's
so Hans Zimmer and John Williams have really shaped our ears and like what we have heard through film.
Yeah, like
throughout our major.
A lot of the iconic. A lot of the iconic themes. He did the first Pirates, right?
He did the first Pirates, yeah.
Yeah, like it's just so iconic. Like Pirates, Star Wars. For me, one of the big ones is Howard Shore and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
correct. That's the first soundtrack for me that like back in the early 2000s kind of like got me really into soundtrack. Like I remember in Spain going to they used to have like CD stores where they would like you would go buy music at a store, a specific store for just
back
CD.
in the day.
Back in the days, maybe CDs and DVDs, right? And you could go buy movies too. And I remember buying the CD for the second Lord of the Rings movie, the
Two
Two Towers, and by Howard Shore. And I was listening to that CD on my CD player, portable CD player, on repeat. Howard Shore was like, I mean, you know, the Oscars, all the Oscars and all the awards that they got, like, reflects how
11.
amazing that soundtrack was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Still, I mean,
But-
Return of the King still holds like is joint record, I think, with Titanic, and
there's
another film that
Another
recently.
one, yeah.
Yeah, I think with Hans Zimmer, I mean, he's been making such good films, such good soundtracks throughout. But like, I think the first one that like really made me think of him as like, okay, this guy is a trendsetter. He's not a follower in the industry. You know, like he sets the sound and what people.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. That's what the Academy looks for when they like. When they
Yeah,
nominate
who's-
soundtracks, they're looking
Originality,
for like
yeah.
new things, right? They're
Yeah,
looking
who's
for
the next John
bringing
Williams?
who's the next? Who's bringing? Who's setting the trend in sound? And the first soundtrack that to me I heard and was just like, okay, yeah, Hans Zimmer is a total trendsetter. Was The Dark Knight,
Mm-hmm.
the
Same.
Dark Knight soundtrack? You know, like he had started the themes for Batman and his world, his you know, the Gotham that Nolan had created. He started those themes in the first movie and the Batman Begins movies with John Newton Howard.
Yeah.
And those themes then got developed and got morphed and synthesized, especially when you were bringing the Joker themes and everything. And I'm like, okay, these are sounds that I've never heard in soundtrack. These are like the way that he uses distortion of sound just for the theme of the Joker and anarchy and all of those themes that the Dark Knight has. Like,
Yeah, he kind of
dude,
started that trend of the
like
that everyone started doing afterwards.
Like the whine that. Are you talking about that?
the what?
It's like a kind of like a whine where it's like it
there-
drags
for
out the scene.
example, Yeah, there's a line. There's some music in the Dark Knight that is just like literally one note building up and just getting distorted the whole time. And that's the sound of the Joker, and it's building suspense and it's making you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just the sound of one note and getting distorted and going up in pitch very little by little.
yeah.
And
It's-
it's
it's-
just
yeah.
it's so simple, but it like
It's so off-putting.
works
It's anarchy.
so well, and it represents the Joker. Yeah,
Yeah.
it represents the Joker so well.
Yeah.
Like something simple, but like making you so uncomfortable, and then all of a sudden exploding at the end, right? Yeah, amazing soundtrack.
No, yeah.
We're
What
kind
is-
of like looking for the next Hans Zimmer.
yeah.
I feel like
Which I think we found him.
already.
Yeah,
I think Nolan's new.
I think Nolan
Nolan's
found him.
new guy.
Hey, a couple of years ago, I thought it would be someone else that it actually is. I think I thought it was going to be Ramin Djawadi, which he did Game of Thrones.
Nah.
Yeah, Game of Thrones guy. I thought
He-
Game of Thrones was a great soundtrack. Like everyone like knows the theme and everything, and because that guy working with Hans Zimmer, and he was a protege of Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, he was
Hans
his-
Zimmer
yeah.
found him at Berkeley, and he like
Mhm.
brought him over essentially to like Hollywood to like, hey, you like need to be with me, like making scores. I thought it was gonna be him,
But
like,
he kind of
I
like
think we
stayed
have-
with TV, right?
Yeah, he's like only like TV and
Like HBO shows.
video. Yeah, a lot of HBO.
Which is
I think
interesting.
what was his latest? He had a couple of big TV soundtracks, but the trendsetter right now is Ludwig.
Is Ludwig,
Ludwig.
yeah,
Yeah.
completely. I
Which
think
is crazy because Childish Gambino found him.
Bro,
That's true.
like this man, like you look at his like rap sheet, bro. Like he does it all.
If you see how he starts off in comedy, doing comedy shows. You know, he's a composer for Community, and that's where he meets Donald Glover, which is crazy because that's another great soundtrack. I thought
Is that Ramin Djawadi or who is that?
no,
That's Tank.
That's Tank. I forgot their name. But what was I gonna say? So yeah, like this guy
He
was
started
started
in
in comedy shows, and he meets Donald Glover, which is crazy because the
Seatbelts.
composer of a show and actors don't really interact with each other because they worked separately, but somehow they met each other, and from there they collaborated together. They worked on his album Camp, and from there
I
he
love
starts
that
doing
album.
other comedy shows until he meets Ryan Coogler and does Fruitvale Station, and then from there, you know, Coogler gets him to do Black Panther. Then he wins his Oscar there. And now he seems like he's Nolan's new guy.
No, like because that is one thing, because I was like, when I first heard, I think it was Tenet, when Nolan finally was coming back with a new film.
Yes.
And I was like, oh man, I can't wait for the new Han score to come out.
Nope,
And then
it's
and
Ludwig.
then I find out he's not
And you're
doing
like,
it. I was like, who the heck is this guy?
Ludwig, bro? Who is this guy?
I mean-
wait, wasn't this guy in Mandalorian?
Yep.
He did Black Panther and he did Mando.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's when I was like, oh, like
He won his Oscar.
I like this guy, and it's different. Like his style is different. It's not
It's
like
newer.
a copy.
It's like newer.
Exactly. It's not a copy of Hans Zimmer or anyone else that's come before.
He's original.
And he's the trendsetter right now.
He is a trendsetter right now.
Because I'll tell you,
he's developing sounds now, like the new sound.
no,
He is a person everyone wants to work with.
Yeah, I think that he's an innovator in his field, and I think that I got a real taste of it. Like we heard from Mando with those different like sounds and the Boba Fett theme, the Boba Fett theme, right?
He's a Mongolian singing.
And like
he breaks barriers. For the first time, when you you were watching Black Panther, you would think, oh, this must be an African composer, right? And like by all nature, and you see this white dude from
long
Sweden
hair
with long hair, looks like a hippie, and you're like, wait, that's the composer for the Black Panther that got Oscar nominated and everything, you know?
The Oscar won. He won.
Yeah, won the Oscar, right? That's right. Like such a genius.
Yeah, and I think it was for me. I think it was Tenet, man. Tenet was one of those movies where it's like, man, Nolan has such a way of picking these people that the music just fits the film so well. Like it's different. It's a different concept. Like the film itself is like out there, and it's like you kind of really have to think because people say that about Inception or Interstellar, and I'm like, no, those are pretty easy to understand.
I mean, those are easy compared to Tenet.
Nolan just likes to play with timelines.
Exactly.
I think.
But I think
time, space. What is it like? If you think about all these films, like they're always about time and space. Even like one movie that you don't really think it was about time and space, you think it was kind of like about war, which was Dunkirk.
No, he's playing with time.
He is playing with time because like
it's not linear.
You're watching one minute you're watching the planes, and 1 minute you're watching the boys on the beach. You know, the soldiers at the beach, and like he's actually playing with the timeline there.
No,
I get a little lost.
You see that in Memento as well.
And Memento, yeah.
I think what makes him such a great filmmaker is that he understands it, but he approaches it in such a creative way. I think, like he's like an action fan, like the rest of us. You know, like the Bond films and all those action films. Like he draws a lot of inspiration from those, especially like you could see that in Tenet. But I think that the way that he approaches, you know, it's not time travel, but like as a director, he's time traveling of what he's showing us, you know? And I think he navigates stories so well in that aspect. But then it's like when you add a skilled composer like Hans Zimmer, or like now how he's doing like with Ludwig, like that's a 1-2 punch that it's like, I love this film. I love this movie, you know? And sometimes it can
they collaborated again this year.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Moving on to one of the biggest films of the year, and probably I think it's probably the film of the year.
I think so. I mean, definitely soundtrack of the year.
I think it's his best film. I think it's Nolan's best film, which is Cillian Murphy and Oppenheimer. I think that film is a work of art. I think it's so good. But you're right. I think that score is, man, Ludwig outdid himself. Like he just keeps getting better and better.
I would have loved if Dune Part 2 had come out this year.
Because
that way we could have seen
the
Dune Part 2 soundtrack
go up
against
Zimmer,
go up against Ludwig Göransson in Oppenheimer.
Because can
you imagine that?
Did you notice? Actually, I'm thinking about this now. Like Dune Part 1, it's a little reminiscent of Ludwig, don't you think?
Yeah, no, it's
of his sounds.
I think Hans Zimmer has stepped up his game, and
like
when,
he's like
when
no
you
one.
Hear the Dune, the Dune Part 1 soundtrack, you can hear like, oh, okay, he's like, this is his answer, like, hey, I'm still relevant. Like,
listening to Louis, he's like,
Hollywood is going.
I'm still a goat.
New sound with, he's still a goat. You know, I think the soundtrack. He did one big soundtrack this year.
Oh, The Creator.
For a movie that didn't get a lot of attention, The Creator.
I love that film.
That movie was fantastic.
That's top 5 for me.
I actually love that film. It was very like it went like like not a lot of people noticed it.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like indie, but like a blockbuster indie, but like action
It looked
and about
beautiful,
AI.
man. It was
I
beautiful.
feel like that's how
But, like,
Star
you know-
Wars was when it first came out.
That's
like-
how I felt
Oh,
about
yeah.
that's how I felt about Rogue One when I first watched Rogue One, which is by the same director, Gareth Edwards.
like an indie science fiction.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like an indie science fiction, but something like completely blows your socks off, and then you have lightsabers.
Yeah.
Because it's like
you know, I went in that movie not looking anything up about the creator.
Oh,
And
same. I
then
had no idea what
heard
it was
the
about.
No,
soundtrack.
and that-
I had
and-
no idea, and I heard
Yeah.
the soundtrack, and I'm like, that has to be Hans Zimmer because like I heard you can hear his sound.
Yeah,
You can hear a lot of the instruments that he uses. He's used in because a lot of the movie takes place in Asia. He uses instruments that he's used in movies like The Last Samurai. You know, he scored The Last Samurai. Like
Yeah.
you hear those Asian sounds too. Carry on to the creator.
Yeah, it was interesting. A lot like this year. It's a lot of
I
I feel like a lot of like Japanese influences over film this year.
I feel like the world's finally, the Western side is finally catching up to Japanese film.
Mhm.
Japanese pop culture.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's because of anime.
Yeah.
I think it's because of anime. It's opened the door for more, even Korean dramas and.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're opening up
Yeah.
the doors for us, and that's why
Japan is trending, bro.
Japan is trending. I mean, you got Parasite too with what's his name,
Ooh,
Ko
the South Korean
Yeah.
director.
Boon Jung-ho.
Boon Jung-ho. There you go. So they
Is he the same guy that made Snowpiercer?
The
Yeah.
movie with Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that guy's he's a visionary. He's amazing.
Mhm.
You know, it's interesting. I was going through Netflix the other day, and I was trying to look for a comedy, so I went to the comedy genre, and I'm scrolling, and then I see Parasite there, and then I'm like, this movie's fun.
Parasite is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
If
If you haven't seen it, go watch that
Whoever
film.
hasn't seen it, go
Apparently,
watch
it's a
that
comedy. But yeah,
comedy. Oh,
like
you're
we're-
in for a surprise if you think it's a comedy.
yeah, it's dark humor. You get me? Dark comedy. I can see it.
what were some
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
what were some of your other faves of this year, films and film scores this year, Josue?
Film scores this year. Let's see. The Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse soundtrack.
So
that-
good,
yeah,
man.
amazing soundtrack. Obviously, Ludwig
Fantastic.
Göransson with Oppenheimer. We talked about it, of course.
You think he should
Boy
win?
and Heron, we just talked about it. The what?
Do you think he should win?
Yeah, I think he's gonna win that one.
I think Ludwig is going to win with Oppenheimer both awards, both big awards, Globe and Oscars.
I think he should. I agree.
I think so.
he should.
This year was a good, like a lot of popular composers made movies this year. You got Ludwig with Oppenheimer. You have John Williams and Indiana Jones. Trent
Oh, that's
Reznor.
right. You guys watched that movie, right?
Yeah, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross with The Killer. Kyo Hisashi with The Boy and the Heron. Hans Zimmer, the creator. Even
Were these nominated? Were these
not
nominees?
all these are nominated, but these
No,
are
these are just,
popular
like,
composers
yeah.
that they
Yeah.
you get me. It's like a good year of like all these composers coming.
Did Giacchino make anything this year?
Not anything as big as when the Batman
came out. Which
You
that
know,
No,
the
I don't-
was
Batman
that even in?
soundtrack.
No, that was last.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
but was that even
That
nominated?
was last year.
It wasn't.
That's-
Oh, it was. It was.
yeah.
It was.
That's a
I think it was.
travesty.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
I don't know.
It's an
and
amazing
then,
soundtrack.
I love that soundtrack.
and then one of Wes Anderson released Astro City, and Alexander Desplat was also. You get me. So you got a lot of famous people.
Werewolf by Night. That's what he did.
Famous composers release movies this year. Release music
Making
this year.
film, yeah, making soundtracks.
So
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a
that's
good
right.
year for 2023 was a good year for music movies.
We can say they've been eating lunch. Yeah, they've been making some money out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's consumers
Yeah,
we've been eating too, man. I think
Yeah, I
this
think
year has
we're,
been
like-
fantastic.
Actually, yeah. I thought that we weren't back to good movies, but I think we're in a good
We're
trend. And like
so
you know,
back, baby.
I don't
TV
think
has
we ever
gotten so
have.
much better too.
I don't think we ever have like years where there's bad movies. I think there's.
I think we had the
like, coming out
pandemic.
of the pandemic years, during the pandemic, a lot of things got delayed. A lot of things
Yeah.
got postponed.
But
You
you
know,
always
but I
get
think
good, you
we're-
always get good stuff.
Bro, we were out of the pandemic and
Well,
Dune 2
you got
still
to
got
point
pushed
out
back.
we did have a big
We had
Big,
a writer strike and
this-
an actor strike,
your
and we-
writer strike, correct?
and
Writer
we still had a
actor
good
strike.
year for music, like movies as well.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, for those that don't have A-list, you gotta go to get.
You gotta
A-list.
get A-list, yeah, man.
Yeah, This thing is sponsored by AMC, right? Are you guys sponsored by AMC yet?
Yeah,
We're
we should.
sponsored by AMC,
Actually, we should
Dude
be.
Wipes. What else?
Oh, Dude Wipes.
yes,
Love it.
sir. Exactly.
That's
Um,
awesome. Have you
have
guys seen
you-
The Killer?
I did watch The Killer.
Yeah, I watched The Killer.
What'd you think about that
Okay.
movie? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. No.
No, watch it. Watch it and let us know.
Let me know what you think about
If
that
you're
movie.
listening
Okay.
to this, let us know
Is
what
it
you thought of The
streaming
Killer.
Movie? It's like on streaming or
Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It's
Yeah,
a Netflix. It's a
on Netflix.
it's
Okay.
a straight to Netflix.
it's a Fincher Netflix. Yeah,
So
I know
that
it's
might
Michael
be-
Fassbender.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love Fassbender. Fassbender's great.
Fassbender is the best part.
Yeah. So you'd expect more of a Fincher movie. Is all
Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
I mean,
I wish I just gave everything
I
away.
mean, Trent
Yeah.
Reznor and Atticus Ross. I think they were nominated and they won for The Social Network.
yeah, they won for The Social
Yeah.
Network. Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they
So-
won for The Social Network, and they also won for Soul, the Pixar movie directed by my boy Pete
that's
Docter.
cool.
Have you?
You know who's in the Pixar movie? In that movie too? John Batiste.
Oh yeah, he does it. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He does the piano parts.
Una
Yeah.
pregunta, Josue.
Uh-huh.
Have you met any famous composers?
I actually
Have you ever
have.
collaborated with anyone?
Have you
Not
worked
collab,
on
bro.
some
Not
films? You
collab.
know.
Not there yet.
Not there yet.
But I actually have a fun story. I was just in Paris one year. I mean, in the summer,
Casually.
vacationing there with
He is European. Makes
with a-
sense.
with a past person that shall not be named.
A past life.
A past life. Yeah, that's right. And just walking on the street, you know, in Paris, you don't really pay attention to anybody walking on the street. It's a major city, European city, so there's so many people. But I just looked at this guy walking, getting off his bike. He was parking his bike and just getting off the bike. Like, he literally was, like, just riding his bike. And I'm like, I know this guy. I look at him, I'm like, that looks like Alexander Desplat. And, you know, it's because I'm a huge soundtrack fan, and I know the composers. I know what they look like. So I'm like, what the heck? I don't have nothing to lose. I'll go up to him.
One of the
I'm
rare
like,
people that knows
Which is
how,
crazy.
yeah,
Which is
how a
crazy.
composer
Right.
looks like.
I know what John Williams looked like. I know what Hans Zimmer, and I know what Lou would look like.
Yeah, those
That's
are the
about
only
it.
three. Yeah.
That's about it, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, Alexander is top 5 in Hollywood, you know. But I went up to him
Look
in
what this guy
French.
looks
I
like.
just asked him straight up, like, "Hey, are you Alexandre Desplat?" And he was like,
In
"Yeah,
French.
yes,
you
I
said
am."
you asked him in
He's
French.
French. Yeah.
He's
of
like,
course,
oui,
I
oui.
asked him in French, bro.
Oh,
Ah.
You gotta
oui.
speak to him in French, bro. Excusez-moi, monsieur, est-ce que vous êtes Alexandre Desplat? And he looks at me. He's like, "Oui, oui, yeah,
Oui,
Alexandre."
oui.
And then, you
C'est
know, we
moi.
switched to English, and I'm like, he asked me, "Oh, you're from America?" I tell him and everything, and you know, he's like, "I'm surprised you recognize me." I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm a huge fan. You know, like Grand Budapest Hotel, I loved it." You know?
I'm a
Like,
budding
yeah,
artist. That's what you should have said.
never-
I'm a budding artist trying to make my
Bro, you should have.
make my name in the
Right.
scene.
Did you shoot your shot there? Like, hey, I play music of the violin. I'm one of the best violinists in
The world.
Tennessee.
I mean, I think from what I remember, I told him like, "Yeah, I play violin too. I'm a musician." And he's like, "Oh, cool." And he's like, you know, he was on his way somewhere, obviously.
But did he
and-
tell him
and-
your
but
concert-
He was nice enough.
Did you tell him
Nah,
that
I
you were
didn't tell him
concert
anything,
master
bro.
at Southern Adventist
guy-
University?
And tell him that you were your
This
CM
guy
CM
works
credits.
with Wes Anderson, bro. This guy works with Wes Anderson.
Roman Polanski.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
he at the time, by the timeline, I think he was working on
Isn't
Little
that frowned
Women.
upon, though?
Probably.
Repeat that again, Josue.
I think at the time, because of the timeline of when I met him, I think he was working on Little Women.
Oh, Little Women with Greta.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, you love that movie, huh?
I love that
I
movie.
think it's Greta's best movie.
But
But I've only seen 3.
I no. What else did you made?
Lady Bird and Barbie. And there's
Lady Bird
Frances
was
Ha.
great.
Was that her? Frances Ha? Or was that Noah
No.
Baumbach?
Baumbach.
Ooh, gonna say something. He said it.
Yeah, we peaked.
Don't curse in English, you know, like that's not
That's
English.
true. You're right.
You're
we,
right.
we can curse in Spanish.
we can curse in patois.
Or in patois.
My
There we
But
go.
yeah, that's actually a really cool story. From the part that you're just strolling Paris in the summer.
Pottery?
Yeah,
And
I took a selfie. I also met like other famous people that summer.
send
in
us that
Paris.
selfie. We're gonna post it.
Who else did you send? Who else did you meet?
So I was at the Versailles, at the Palace of Versailles,
The one on East
and
Street.
just walking with the group in the guided tour. This guy off to the side is like wearing a hat, and like I look at him, Do you guys know Sirius XM Sway in the morning? Like,
Sway,
you know
like
that,
sway?
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
like
have,
Sway.
Yeah, like you don't have the
Morning,
answer, sway.
I don't have
Yeah.
Sirius XM.
Like the guy
Wait,
that
you've
has
never seen that meme?
He has a hip hop. He basically has the biggest radio hip hop show.
Yeah, I know sway, personally.
Yeah. So I went up to him. I'm like, "Are you Sway?" And he's like, "Yeah, Sam, man. What's up? What's going on?" I'm like, "Hey,
Yeah,
like,
that's
what are you
sick.
doing here?" He's like, "Nah, I'm just here with my wife. You know, like
I'm
you know,
chilling, yeah.
So,
hanging a little chill. Where you from?" We're like, super cool guy too. Like that was weird. Like I ran into Alessandro Desplat and Sway like in the same summer in Paris.
ooh.
Yeah, crazy. Should collab.
Did you see Owen Wilson at midnight?
No, that would have been nice. I would have preferred to see Marion Cotillard.
Oof,
Ooh.
who wouldn't?
I would have preferred to see Emma Watson.
Christian. Oh yes, Emma Watson. Every time I go to England, it's always my like. This is gonna be the trip where I meet Emma Watson.
Yeah.
She's either in England or in France. So
I don't care. I'm not gonna lose hope. I'll meet her one day.
Don't lose hope. Don't lose
don't
hope.
lose hope.
Search for that McGuffin. You know what I'm saying? I have a question for each of you.
Yes,
I need you to give me your favorite composer.
Favorite composer for me, I love Studio Ghibli. I love Miyazaki. I think he is the greatest animator ever, and I gotta go with his partner Joe Hisashi. I should love every time I watch a Studio Ghibli movie that Miyazaki makes. When I study, that's all I listen to, Studio Ghibli music. So he is my favorite.
Nice. Josue?
Man, that's a hard question, you know, like
That is a hard question.
your favorite, like the one. I mean,
it can change. It can change. But what are you on right now?
Yeah, I mean, what am I on right now? I'm on Ludwig right now. But like my favorite of all time, they have to go hand in hand. It has to be, John Williams and Hans Zimmer.
All right, you take John Williams. I'll take Hans Zimmer because mine is the same.
John Williams is the ultimate American, especially American movie composer. He has created the sound of Hollywood.
The sound of Hollywood.
He has created the sound of Hollywood. Yeah,
he's created the sound of Hollywood. Like you can't imagine watching a blockbuster and not thinking of obviously.
Didn't he also
either
do Harry
George
Potter?
Lucas or Steven Spielberg and John Williams, right? John Williams has scored for both. John Williams scores all of the blockbusters.
Nah, he's a Hollywood staple.
John Williams,
sure.
every time every time he releases a soundtrack is going to be nominated for an Oscar, usually.
Dang. He's getting up there.
He's old, man.
He's like 90.
We're probably gonna lose. We're probably gonna lose him soon.
May the force be with him, so he can last longer.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that
he's in his 90s.
We had a good year of music like movies.
I actually didn't watch the film that he composed this year. You guys watched it, right?
That's all right, but he was the best part of it.
It was mid, but yeah, the sound. I mean, obviously, it's great to see Harrison Ford. In anything.
But he's kind of.
Pero I think the story suffered. I don't think it was James Mangold's best story or what he could what he could have done, because there's a little wonkiness, but at the same time it's like you look back at it and it's like Indiana Jones is it's a
if this is your worst movie,
it's definitely better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so I appreciate it that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is not how Indiana Jones' story ends.
Yeah. Is that with Shia LaBeouf?
Yes.
Shia LaBeouf.
So I think it's a good way to finish the story. Was it because
story, and that was Harrison Ford's last one, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't think he can carry another movie.
It's classic Williams, and even so more to the point where it's like sometimes it's like, have I heard this song before? But I think it's because we know his sound. We know it's his trademark sound. It's who he is. It's how he's made his name in the industry, and basically made it his industry. And so that's why it's like, yeah, for me and you, I think it can go hand in hand. Like, I'll take John Williams.
And he doesn't even live in Hollywood, bro.
Where does he live?
John Williams lives in Boston.
Yeah, bro. Everyone comes to him.
No, he doesn't live in George Lucas's ranch.
Skywalker.
No, he lives in Boston, man.
He
lives in Boston.
Oh yeah. What did you think of Skywalker? Rise of Skywalker. Like, not the movie, because I don't want to talk about that, but the music.
Rise of Skywalker. Espérate, ¿cuál es esa?
The last
La última, la peor.
Oh, the last of the
Mm-hmm.
the third trilogy. Um, I mean, the soundtracks were great for the three movies, the new trilogy.
Oh yeah, like especially the themes, like Ray's theme, banger,
Yeah, I love Ray's theme. I
banger.
love Ray's theme. Yeah. Um,
Kylo fighting.
Kylo fighting. Yeah, classic John Williams. But like you heard new themes in that new trilogy, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was very refreshing with the John
Sequels.
Williams and Star Wars
Yeah, listen.
soundtrack. But at the same time, it remained like you would listen to like the bum ba bum bum
Bum
ba
bum
dum
bum
ba dum
bum
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 bum.
bum.
So he has new themes for like the Republic and like the
The
rebels
Resistance,
and
yeah.
yeah, and then he brings back old themes from the Empire and stuff, and like
Palpatine.
I love the heritage of the John Williams Star Wars like soundtracks.
That's the thing, and that's like something that's made Star Wars such like a staple in people's lives. It's a household name,
Yeah.
and it's something that's obviously important to a lot of us. I know it's important for
Mhm.
me, and John Williams is a part of that. John Williams is part of my childhood and growing up, and watching those films, and I mean not even just Star Wars. And I think for most of us, a lot of the other films that we've seen, even like the Harry Potter for like the next generation,
Yeah.
I think he painted a beautiful tapestry with the music that the music that he created. And so
Mhm.
I have one last question for you, Josue. I know that obviously your life has been involved, surrounded by music. What are some things I mean, go in go in as deep as much as you want, but why is music so important to you as Josue?
That's Josue. Why is music so important to me? That's a good question. So to me, I mean, and I'm not the one who said this, but Beethoven actually said it. It's like to me, music brings me closer to God. Right. Um, I think for me, the music, the actual composer, not movie composer, obviously, that brings me the closest to God is Bach. Johann Sebastian Bach, for me, is like the Bible of classical music. He's the Bible of music. Like, there's no other music that brings me closer to God. I think it reminds me of my humanity, how small I am, and then at the same time, it just completely I get lost in the feels of the music, right? It's one of those things where um it's so hard to be present nowadays, and like when I listen to music, I am completely present, and I think that feeling of presence, that hyper focus feel, is something that is so rare nowadays in our society, and I can have that with music, and yeah, in a way, like that's I think what brings me closest to God, and it's like you can see it. I see it as like not just human thing or a religious thing, but just an existential thing. Like
Spiritual thing.
if there was it's just very spiritual to me. If I was going to lose any type
A
of
sense.
sense, I think hearing would be my last that I wouldn't want to lose.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
could lose anything else,
I think Matt
but
Murdock would
hearing.
agree too.
Yeah, it's true. Is that a daredevil?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, I've enjoyed this conversation so much. I think Link did too.
Oh yes, I
Thank you,
mean any
definitely.
excuse to talk to Josue is a good excuse.
Hey,
Honestly, if you see Josue on the streets of Chattanooga, say hi because the man is an incredible person to talk to.
Yeah.
It's always a great time. So thank you so much for coming onto the show and,
for
imparting some
having
of
me, guys.
your wisdom and knowledge.
All right, guys. I think the best way
Thank
to
you,
end
guys.
this
Uh-huh.
is by singing our favorite Star Wars song.
Is that Duel of Fates or what?
Yours is Duel of Fates, right?
Yeah.
Gabriel's
what were you
was
singing?
what, Twin Sun?
Binary Sunset.
Binary Sunset. Binary.
I think also like a really cool thing. Harry Potter movies. They start the all of the movies from Harry Potter. They start with John Williams composing, and they end with Alexandre Desplat composing the last two films.
Oh.
Think about that.
And that's how we end the episode. We love you. Have a great week.